Today I want to do a quick recap on my previous video of the first impressions of the Yamaha DTX Pro. Now I'm sitting here today with an older DTX Extreme. I believe this one was probably 2012. I couldn't find the date on it, but I've been teaching and using this set for about 7 years now, and I was actually impressed right away that this set performed as well as it did. This is the Extreme, probably 2012-ish, I'm guessing this one was released. Now something that's different from this one to the DTXs now is the pad size is quite a bit different. They look like they're all 10-inch. The snare looks like it might be a 12. Remember on the DTX, the new one, the Pro, it's got those little, I think they're just 6-inch pads. So that's something to consider with those new ones. I actually have grown to like the 6-inch pad. It does, in theory, it's gonna give less give. As you hit it, right, the pad will start to sort of wear down. And what I'm learning is even on these heavier, older ones, they are actually holding up. These don't sag really ever. And the new DTX, that one does sag quite a bit, even on those little ones. I've noticed the snare, I have to constantly move it around because it'll just tilt on the rack. So that brings me to my point of today's video is what's different about the DTXs now versus then. So again, I'll come back to the rack here. I think it almost feels like the aluminum that you see in hardware now, and Yamaha I know makes that, and that hardware is pretty nice. Now you can listen here. I think it's aluminum. It is pretty light, which is nice. It's easy to move this thing around. The one thing I don't like on the old ones is the pads themselves. They're rubbery. And I noticed after playing maybe even 15 minutes, just that hitting the backbeat with the snare over and over, there is sort of a soreness I get through here, which I don't on any other surface. So I think the pad quality has improved quite a bit on the newer model. So I'll give props to the Pro for the quality of the pad, the feel of the pad. Now the sounds on this one are actually pretty good. I won't go through them or anything, but the sounds are still pretty modern sounding. Some of them might sound a little dated, but overall the set produces a really nice quality. So I've got to give Yamaha credit, especially in 2010, 2012, when other kits around that time were not putting out as strong a sound. So the old DTX sounds actually pretty good, and the new one's great. Now that I've had some time with this kit and been able to teach on it for over a week and play on it quite a bit, my students, especially the more advanced ones, are really impressed by it. They want to go play that one all the time. We have a rock band class where we use this one, and then we go down the hall to my room where we have the newer ones, and they say, well, why can't we have class in the new room? So it's sold to even the pickiest of high school kids who have strong opinions about that stuff. So kudos to Yamaha for putting out good sounds these days. I mean, they should be. So my biggest gripe with the DTX Pro is the rack, okay? I've been kind of beating around it this whole time, and this old one, like I said, even with the heavier, I mean, they're almost twice the amount of weight, it seems like, for the drums themselves, the pads. I don't have any sagging on this rack. Now, I'll sit and play the new one, the Pro, and after 10 minutes even of just hitting that snare, I'm not that hard of a hitter either. It's generally I'm playing, you can just see that I'm usually playing in this zone, Even at that level, the snare moves quite a bit. The tom, I've got to constantly just move it over. I am good about adjusting, unscrewing, move, screw it back together. I'm not just willy-nilly in these things. So if you're wondering that's not the case. All right, so we're gonna take a look at the rack here. So you can see these tom arms on the older DTX, they had like this on everything. They had the more sturdier ball joint arm. This is just an insert, which isn't inherently bad. That's not really the problem. The problem is this here with the rack mount. On the old DTX, it's ribbed a bit. The rack is actually ribbed with those lines, so then it kind of catches, the rack mount will catch on the rack itself easier. These just slide and slide. Now the top mounts haven't had as much sag, but the snare mounts, you can see I even tried to angle that straight forward to where if it was gonna fall and move, it would be from the ball joint connector, right? But it's actually this thing, even hitting on this surface here, this thing's moving around. Same with the floor tom. You play it enough up here, it starts to sag forward. I really don't want to mess with it now, but like I said, I'm really good about loosening these. If I want to move them, I don't ever just willy-nilly move them around. So that's, again, my biggest issue with the new set is the rack. I will say that the cymbal pads feel about the same as these old ones do. I don't think much has changed as far as that with the old and the newer DTXs. Not that anything was really bad about these. These were pretty good too. They've probably, I would say, the zoning is a little cleaner on the new ones of when you hit that, you're gonna get the bell. Even these old ones have a good choke mechanism. This one, something's off with the trigger, but it's probably about 10 to 12 years old here. But still, that's held up quite well for an electronic set. So overall, the big things I would say are the pads, right? How does it feel? The Pro definitely feels great. I haven't gotten any soreness from that. That is the downside of the older kits. The biggest downside of the newer kit to me is the moving of the pad, and then to the note on the crosstalk, which I had talked about in the last video. I've tweaked the settings. I think it's better. There still could be some wiggle room that I might be there's still probably a zone I need to discover there, but there's still a little bit of issues with the speed, but overall it's been way better since maybe my initial opinions. My initial opinions were a little more negative, and with some time, the crosstalk is much less of an issue. And I think if I put in more time to it, it would be even more desirable. So really, those are the big things and then finally the rack of the new kit. That is, I give that like a C-. I have an old kind of crappy D-drum one laying at my house, and that rack is probably about the same quality, and I think I could sell that thing for $200 and I'd feel really good about getting 200 out of it. So the rack, Yamaha, come on guys. You made these good before. You know how to make them. Even a lot of people complain about the round racks. Why not just make a square? I really wonder that still. Why not just make a square rack? The square L-shaped things are gonna move much less than a round one. So I know it's pricier, it's more material, but man, you made such a good product, Yamaha, with your kit. I'd like to see the rack get improved. So overall, I think the newer DTX is a stark improvement. I'm almost tempted to put this rack with the new set, and then I think I'll have the complete Yamaha masterpiece. So Yamaha did a good job with the new DTX Pro. I would just encourage you guys, if you're hearing this, to think about the rack quality, and even going back to this would be a nice step up. So thanks for checking this out, guys. Let me know what you think. I know there's a lot of people who won't care much about this, but I'm really enjoying the electronic drumming world, so I wanted to chime in and offer up some of the experience I've had, as I've got to play them quite a bit. So thanks guys, get out there and practice, and I'll see you tomorrow.